Baba John. This is Tower 57. We welcome you. You know this YouTube channel is called Hound Studios. So for Kaylee, always. This is Scott Drakewood's book Rise of the Mages, an Age of Iron novel. Nice map. I really like it. At a first glance. Prologue. Savian sat at his small desk in a cramped room inside the dilapidated stone structure. It had been his home, his prison, for 5 long years. He stared at the night sky through his tiny wood-framed window. The full moon glowed with a brilliant blue light, partially illuminating the temple ground Savian guarded day and night. It had long been his habit to sleep by day in a windowless room in the cellar, in order to spend his waking hours enveloped in the peace of the night. He still didn't believe that there was anything in this glory-forsaken corner of the world to guard, but he had no choice but to stay, if he wanted to keep his rank and his life. Keeper of the Temple of the Fallen, they had said, no higher honor, none higher indeed. His lips twisted into a sneer, his long, powerful fingers calloused by years of crafting wondrous devices only he could conceive, ripped an ivory pen until it cracked under the strain. Liars, thieves. They had used his own ambition to exile him. It had taken him years to see it, but he had eventually realized that he would never fight the ordained devils, never rule the hidden kingdoms as one of the seventh circle, never ascend out of this hell pit. So it was that he came to be the keeper of the temple, an ancient holy site about as far from civilization as one could get in the hidden kingdoms. He was the most powerful outcast in the Malithi priesthood. His only consolation was the fear he saw in the eyes of the few brethren who visited him. He ran his hand through this thick black hair and contemplated his own image, reflected in the window pane. He had been practically a child when he had arrived there, but the strong lines of his face had sharpened. His excess flesh wasted away while guarding the Temple of the Fallen. Outside, through his reflection in the window, Savian thought he saw a faint flickering light on the side of the temple, a huge, peaked building, square at the base and triangular on each side. Probably just moonlight reflected by quartz in the stones. He told himself, I'll have the slave investigate. Kairit, attend me. Kairit was technically his understudy, helping to raise himself from the third circle under Savian's tutelage. He was Savian's mindless now, and the keeper had no intention of ever releasing Kairit from the mind binder he had designed. He felt a twinge of guilt at that, but felt much better when he reminded himself that the boy was an irredeemable idiot. Ooh, the words moved. If this brethren ever found out he had bound one of their own to mindless servitude, there would be trouble. Never mind that, Savian's new crafting was likely the greatest invention in recorded history. Well enough that few of them visited the temple then. None of them even knew this type of binder existed, and Savian planned to keep it that way. Not that any of them would be able to replicate it anyways. Kyrit appeared at the doorway to Savian's study, stopping before entering the room to look in hesitantly. His eyes had the cold, lifeless look of those who wore one of the new mindbinders, but with a slight, sharp gleam that implied some retained intelligence. More importantly, it wouldn't mutate his body into one of the living dead like the ancient soulbinders his brethren coveted. A bit of drool seeped from the corner of Savian's mouth to fall in his thick black beard as he grinned to himself. He had set out to recreate the ancient soulbinders, though they had tens of thousands to spare. The secret to making them had been lost to the priesthood for longer than anyone could remember. But was almost as excited about these that had gone wrong. He suspected that these new binders, mind binders that sacrifice a certain amount of control for a subject that appeared autonomous, would be incredibly useful. Their like had not been seen for centuries, if they had ever been more than legend. A true work of genius. He would show the seventh circle yet. He would repay them their treachery. Soon he'd run the entire Malithi priesthood, maybe the world, with his mindbinders. Kyrit, go take a look outside. Be sure no one has entered the grounds, no dawdling. Kyrit ducked his head in a pathetic cringe and plodded toward the door. Savian turned back to staring out the window at the spot on the temple where he had seen the twinkling light. Fuck this guy, honestly. What the fuck is this? What is this? What is Savian doing to Kyrit? Oh my god. What the fuck? Kyrit approached the temple without the apprehensions even Savian felt near the monument to fallen glory. The Mindbinder did not allow Kyrit to act on the fear he undoubtedly felt good. As Kyrit began to inspect the outside of the building, Savian saw the flash again, stronger this time. An intense blue light outlined the heavier stone slab that had sealed the entrance to the temple for centuries, perhaps even millennia. Savian drew in a sharp breath and stared in shock. What could be causing the light inside the temple? He had heard the claims that the fallen god of glory rested here, that the whole reason for the Malithi's existence was to prepare for his return. He had even used these tales to intimidate and coerce his brethren when convenient, but not until this moment had he really truly. But not until this moment had he truly believed it himself. He rushed out of his room and into the courtyard that separated his building from the temple. The pulsing light emanating from the temple entrance grew stronger as he crossed the courtyard with sweeping strides of his long legs. He could hear a humming, feel a vibration in the ground that reverberated deep in his chest. It was almost as if the holy power had taken a life of its own. Right there inside the temple, Kyrit stood just in front of the entrance of the temple, staring at the light coming from the cracks around the large stone slab like the imbecile he was. Kyrit, come away from there. I'll have your skin. Savian's serious shout was cut off as the vibration culminated in a blinding pulse of blue light and a deafening blast that blew the stone slab temple door outward in a rush of flying chunks of stone. Savian coughed as he rose unsteadily from where he had been thrown to the ground. Ears ringing, he stumbled across the courtyard toward the now dark entrance to the temple. Only a faint glow came from the building now, but the powerful pulsing of raw power continued. He stepped over Kyrit's motionless body and crossed the threshold of the temple, sparing only a brief, remorseful thought for his servant as he was drawn to the source of unimaginable power. Is Kyrit dead, or is he unconscious? I wonder. He paused just inside the doorway, peering cautiously inside. The interior of the structure appeared to be one enormous room. Vaguely familiar symbols inscribed on the walls pulsed, illuminating the interior of the temple, intermittently with a deceiving pale blue light. There was what there. Sorry. The air was stale, but surprisingly sterile. Four more pages to go, and this video ends. Good. A huge rectangular enclosure made of stone lay in the exact center of the structure. The stone slab that appeared to have covered it was strewn about the room in chunks of various sizes. An oversized throne carved from translucent crystal sat at the far side of the large open room. The throne pulsed with the same rhythmic blue light at the script on the walls. As the script on the walls, only more intensely. A huge gray stone statue of a bald but otherwise perfect specimen of a man sat on the throne. The statue had more of the same overlapping angular script inscribed into its surface, almost like the tattoos that covered the Malithi priests. Except that these were glowing and pulsing in tandem with the crystal throne and seemed somehow more complete, making it impossible to determine a beginning or end to the script. So, my children attend me this time. A rushing tide of a voice swept over Savian. The vibrant power dropped him to one knee. He peered fearfully at the statue. It stared back at him with pale eyes that shone with life. How could this be? What was this sorcery? He staggered to his feet and drew holy infusory power from a gold infusory coil in his pocket, prepared to direct it at this charade, to bring down whoever thought to fool him. He would make them pay. Scott Drakeford. Scott Drakeford. Right. Yeah, nice book. Nice book. It made me gasp. Saw the words move and shine. The statue moved, pointing at him. I prefer you on your knees, loyal one. There was a hint of amusement in the deep, powerful voice. As it spoke, fierce energy, primal infusory on a scale he could hardly comprehend, tore through Savian, driving him back to his knees. A sudden realization chilled him to his core, an icicle to the heart. Could the legend be true? He wanted to scream, to run from this place and never look back, but found himself unable to move. The being rose from the throne and drew near with heavy steps that reverberated through the chamber. Rise, child, tell me your name. Saving